Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where I will talk about the new whims that were introduced in this update. First I'll go through how you can get the whim, what it does, and at the end I will show different methods that you can do to resolve the whims. Before we start, if you don't know why these whims occur to you, it is mainly because of one reason, and that is your sanity. So if your sanity is really low, now they're making it more punishable by giving you all sorts of whims depending on what conditions you trigger. So just to show an example, currently right now my sanity is full. So if I try to jump down, which I'll get fall damage. Let's see what happens. So after jumping, if I check my condition, obviously I do have the broken leg. But if I check my sanity and all, it will not show me the debuff, which I will talk about in a bit. So yeah, as long as your sanity is high, you won't get any obvious debuffs. And with that, let's begin with the first one. So the first one, if we continue from the intro, is called Land and Die, which you can get if you are at low sanity and you get fall damage. So the easiest way to notice this is if you look at my feet, it's as if it's oozing blood out here. So this is the visual effect. And if I check the actual effect, so all this does is it reduces your jump height by 50, but it gives you the advantage of being immune to fall damage, and you will deal some area damage if you jump from a height. So obviously the main debuff is that you jump at reduced height. So if I can show you over here, I don't jump really high. But in exchange for this, now you won't take any more fall damage and you'll do a special area effect damage if you try jumping. So I'll just show you in case. So yeah, I didn't take any fall damage. This next whim is called You Are Delicious, which you can get by starving yourself. So if I check my hunger meter over here, it's as low as 7%. So and the visual effect is, as you can see on top of my head, you will have these food items which are spinning around your head. And what this effect basically does is now all enemy drops will just become either random meats or berries or fruits or vegetables. Instead of, let's say, if they were supposed to drop maybe acid, energy links, but they will only drop these food related items. So if I try to showcase this effect by killing some of these enemies over here, so you can see I got some beast meat and oranges instead of the regular drops such as energy links, stardust source, or cortexes, etc., etc. And yeah, that's it for this effect. Although before we move on, just one thing about this effect you should be aware of is that if you have this effect, do not open chests, especially in the deviant feast where you have to use deviant seeds to open to get, let's say, the chest rewards. Because if you open chests with these, instead of getting the rewards, you will actually get only fruits and vegetables. So this is a very negative effect, especially if you're trying to open chests with it. So just be a bit aware that do not open chests if you have this particular whim with you. Moving on, the next whim is called Drink Something Good. So to get this whim, you need to be completely thirsty. So if I show you my hydration meter here, it's pretty low. So once it's really as low as this, then you will get the effect. And if we look visually, so on my shoulders you can see there's some black sludge which has formed, and if I run also you'll see it leaves this blackish type of trail, which I think is a pretty cool effect. So what this whim does is actually two effects. The first one is, now if you collect berries or any fruits and all, it will yield acid or fuel oil, and drinking water will not replenish your hydration. So I check and demonstrate the second one. So right now currently my hydration is at 6%, and if I consume water, well, as you can see it's still at 6%. So you need to consume acid. So just to show you, if I consume one acid, now if I check my hydration, it's gone back to 100%. Although you should know that it actually didn't get rid of the whim effect, so that whim effect is still there. And now to show you the other part of what the whim does. So if I try to pick up these plants over here, So yeah, you can either get fuel or acid, but I mean, out of all those, acid seems pretty rare. And yeah, I mean, out of all the whims, this seems at least doesn't have a negative effect. So it's pretty good for early game if when you don't have access to fuel or in the higher areas. Moving on, the next whim is called Tumbler, which you can get if you are continuously knocked back by enemies. So a common place you might get it now is if you play the Visional Wheel, the Deviant Feast, and you fight against the Spider Boss. So you keep getting knocked back by its attacks, which will give you this whim. And as you can see, the visual effect is that you get this sad balloon, which will be floating above your head right here. And essentially, what this does is you cannot be knocked back or stunned, but the downside to this is that you cannot dodge or sprint. So if you look at my mobile UI on the bottom right, so there are three buttons for movement. So I can jump, I can crouch, but if I try to roll, you can see I'll keep tapping the button, but it won't make me roll over. So that's the dodge ability. And if I try to sprint around, yes, so I can't sprint now. Even if I sprint lock like on mobile, so I won't you can't sprint anymore. So that's what this whim technically does in a nutshell. The next whim is called Dig Dig Dig, which you can get by simply mining ores around. And visually, as you can see, it gives you this cute little Digby head on your face. What this whim does is it will increase your mining speed significantly, and instead of consuming stamina, it will consume your sanity to while you're gathering the ores. So I'll just showcase right now. Now, if I try to mine this ore over here with the effect, the whim effect, so you'll see it will be significantly faster. And if I try to show, so my stamina bar is still full, so it didn't consume any stamina, but obviously because my sanity is at the lowest, so that's why you couldn't see the sanity bar change as well. This next whim is called Great Power Generator, and the visual effect is, as you can see, you will emit an electric ring surrounding you. You can get this by if you are struck by lightning. So for example, in endless dream scenarios in the zones, if you are struck by lightning, or the new Devourer boss also has a lightning attack. So whenever you're struck by lightning, you will get this whim. So basically, what this whim does over here, as you can see, is that you will generate electric rings, which deals power surge damage to all targets within range. However, what this description doesn't actually tell you is, if I can show you right now. Yeah, so it causes damage to everyone, including yourself. So if you don't get rid of this whim, you will keep dying actually. So that's why it's a pretty shitty whim, I would say. So even if I wait for one more time for it to strike, I'll actually die right now. Yep, and I mean, I thought this whim would be good. It's like you're dealing power surge damage, but unfortunately, you're putting it's like a kamikaze. Another bad thing is, if you didn't know, is even if you're like waiting here, if the effect happens, it will actually reduce your timer significantly. So let's see. Yeah, as you can see, the timer got cut significantly. So this is a pretty bad whim to have on yourself. The next whim on the list is called Fridge, which can trigger if your body temperature drops below 0 degrees or if you're moving in really cold areas. So currently, like if you look at the top right corner where my mini map is, below that there's a temperature icon. So right now it's 15 degrees. If your body temperature drops below 0, then you will get this whim. For visual effect, there is supposed to be something, but I think I've not been able to trigger it because I'll just read the description right now. So what this whim does is just it causes continuous hyperthermia. But that's the important one is if you're in the frozen state, you are immune to attack damage, and if you're frozen in water, you will remain stationary. Although I've been trying a lot, I haven't been able to trigger this frozen so-called frozen state. And maybe just to show, uh, like there's a puddle of water there, so let's try jumping in that. I mean, yeah, I'm just checking my whatever buffs and all I can check. But yeah, this is the only whim I haven't been able to figure out. How do you like get the effects? Or maybe frozen state might be I have to be hit by an enemy attack which can actually freeze me. That's the only thing I can guess right now. because I've not been able to trigger it on myself, the frozen state. Maybe someone knows, you can let us know in the comments. But yeah, that's what the fridge is supposed to do. But unfortunately, I cannot showcase it. But that's the base effect of what frozen state is supposed to do. And the last limb, which has by far I think the coolest name, is called Ghost Rider. So how you get this is if your body temperature gets very high, so it should cross around 40 degrees, and then you will start heating up. So instead of getting heat stroke, you will actually end up getting the swim if your sanity is low. And as you can see from the visual effects that your body's on fire. I kind of hope, since it's called Ghost Rider, at least if the entire head was on fire and you couldn't see my face, but this is just some random fire. And this Whim kind of works similar to Power Generator in the sense that it causes continuous HP loss, but in return, if whenever you move around, you will leave a fiery trail just like how Ghost Rider does, which will burn enemies. So if I demonstrate this, so as you can see, this guy is actually taking burn damage, 73 ticks while walking on the fire. But yeah, I mean, it didn't even deal that much. So a good idea, but not the best Whim, I would say. Already, now that we have seen all the Whims in action and the effects, the main question everyone has is how do you get rid of them? So I'm going to go through a few methods. So the first method to cure sanity is actually to prevent it from happening. If you are a casual player or someone who runs high HP builds, so what you might want to consume is this: either Stardust Corn Ale or Stardust Malt Ale, which will actually give you pollution resistance. Although keep in mind this has been changed. It now none of these drinks give you immunity to pollution, so it will still drop, but it will drop at a significantly lower rate. Which is also why now the regular corn and malt ales are quite useless. So if you're someone who runs high HP builds, you might want to consume this, and also in your backpack have gear which have pollution resistance. So with the combination of these two, even though your sanity will drop, but it will drop at a very significant lower rate, so to the point that you won't actually get any of these whims, even if you explore for like maybe 15-20 minutes, which is how much the Deviant Feast event runs for. However, the problem with the first method is that obviously you need to be at a high HP playstyle. But what if you're running mostly like Savior or Treacherous Tide sets, which require your sanity to be low? So another method is you can just use your bed. So for example, if you look at my screen right now, I have Land and Die. So you can just use your bed. So let's just rest on my bed. Alright, so now you can see just by sleeping I've recovered all my sanity, and even the effect you can see visually on my legs is gone. So this is another way to cure the whims. Alright, for this next method, let's say I have a great power generator right now, which is reducing my health right now, and in the next electric wave I'm actually gonna die. So I'll just wait for that. So yeah, obviously with this, you know instead of continuously using adrenaline shots to revive yourself just to go down again, you can actually just give up over here, because once you give up, you'll actually get rid of the effect. So if you're just either teleporting back to your base and then you're just continuously going down, or you're in an area where you're exploring by yourself and you get one of these nasty whims, so just give up. As you can see, there's a pop-up which said like the I got rid of the whim itself, and then you can just teleport back to your base and just pick up your Stardust flowers, and now if I go to my whims, you see I don't have the generator whim anymore. So those were the first three methods I went through that you could use to to recover the whims. But the problem is each of those methods had like some caveat or some condition that you need to fulfill. But let's say what happens if you get one of the whims and you're doing some, let's say for example, currently right now, if I look at the map, I'm actually doing the Deviant Feast, and I have a Land and Die if you look at my legs. So now what, would you just go back to your house and teleport and then sleep on your bed or do some of the other methods. So this is where the last method comes, which is actually the best method. So you need to consume an item. So go to your backpack, and in consumables you'll find this item called as homestar noodles. So which, as you can see, the description says recover all sanity. So currently if I show you my whims, I have land and die. Now once I consume this, you see the pop-up is there, land and die is cured. So once again if I check, I don't have the whim anymore, and you can see almost all actually my entire sanity got recovered, but because I'm in a pollution area, so it's actually generating again. But yeah, this is by far the best method because you can do this anytime, anywhere you want. You don't need to satisfy any conditions. If you get a nasty whim, just consume that item and you get rid of your any whims that you have instantly. So to create the homestyle noodles item, you will need this deviation called as hug in a bowl, which is a crafting deviation, and which will give you this item called as homestyle noodles. So let's just claim all of that. Sorry, it'll give you delicious soup apparently. And then what you want to do is go to your supplies bench, and then you will find the item here called as homestyle noodles. It requires obviously the delicious soup which you get from the deviation, acid, and some glass. And then you can just craft many of these items, and whenever you're out exploring in the wild or doing some events and you get any of these nasty worms, just consume this and you will be good to go. And lastly, you can always rely on your sanity gummies, even though they have been significantly nerfed in how much sanity they recover, but they still actually help you combat the whims. So for example, right now I have great power generator, which is reducing my health at this very moment. So all I can do is just consume one gummy, and that's it. Voila. Now if I check my whims, yeah, I don't have great generator anymore. So this is also another really quick way. And that's it for this video. Those are all the whims that I've been able to discover so far. There might be more, which let me know in the comments if I missed out on something. And yeah, hopefully this video either showed you some whims you didn't know or helped you find ways to get rid of those nasty whims. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.